Focus. So pride is a sin. What principles does Comicsgate have? If you go to bat for Cecil but not Mike or Doug, then what are your principles exactly? This video is going to seem a little out there, but it all ties together. Cecil got blown away by dynamite. If you bend the knee once, you'll bend the knee again. I'm not a comic expert, but I do know SJWs. The SJWs own Dynamite now. They own Antarctic Press. Even the SJWs won't respect you. Nobody respects a coward. F. Mike Nelson for selling out Doug Tennapel. That's what cowards do. If Antarctic Press, Dynamite, and Mike Nelson just ignored the mob for a while, the poop storm would blow over. You'd lose some customers and you gain some. That's just how life goes. But you get to keep your principles. People will realize that they can count on you to keep your word, and you'll treat people fairly and try to be impartial. The mob told these people that they were not allowed to associate with a group of people because they're right of center. Doug is religious. He believes a man is a man. Heaven forbid. That's it. Because of his belief, he's a monster to these people and must be destroyed. I'm just guessing that if Doug was Muslim, the outrage wouldn't be as strong. At some point, you need to stand up and say, hey, we're going to sell whatever sells and let the customer choose. Your comic's your choice. I read this article, someone posted in here, some nut job. There are some people here. The hatred they have for CG is not logical. It's not rational. It's at a religious fervor. It's something they believe in. And so, if there's an argument, you ask somebody, well, what would it take to disprove your belief? And they say, well, nothing can disprove it. Then there's no point for the argument because it's a religion to them. You could never disprove it. They said that CG was a hate group rooted in white nationalism. How exactly does one reach that conclusion? EVS and Myers are the biggest channels. They probably identify as Europeans or whites. And dog, come on. And they say that, yeah, and they would probably say, yeah, we're nationalists. But that's not the way they mean that term to apply. They mean Austrian corporals. But they have successfully taken a positive term and turned it negative. If they call you that term, are you supposed to deny it? What part are you supposed to deny? Do you try to take that term back, a la Clerks 2? You can't because they control the narrative. It's shifting into just being a nationalist is equivalent to being an Austrian corporal. I know this is getting a little weird, but trust me, it'll make sense. Because in their mind, if you're not a international communist, then you are the opposite. That's why they say liberals get the bullet too. The narrative is also shifting into F white women, Karens, and people in general of European descent. It will shift into F light-skinned successful people. In fact, it already has. Check out the history of Haiti. Because the mob itself doesn't have principles. They're just sailboats blown by an invisible wind. America put witch trials and lynch mobs behind it. But now we're moving back into them. Yes, I'm absolutely serious. History repeats. I know it sounds crazy to go from people tearing down statues and getting husbands and wives fired, or kids expelled, and people with American flags getting beaten, or gay Asian reporters getting attacked for being fascists. The gay Asian reporter. That's all this is. It's an escalation of force. Dozens of people have died in the riots so far. A woman was raped and murdered the first night by BLM. I'm sure more women have also been assaulted, but they won't report it because they feel it's bad optics. Comicsgate is a facet of the culture war. That's why I get a little nervous when I see major figures in Comicsgate also bend the knee to the woke mob. EVS publicly attacked Mike for saying pride is a sin. That is Mike's sincerely held religious belief. Ethan should have kept his big nose out of Mike's business. Instead, EVS publicly virtue signaled to the same outrage mobs that are controlling Dynamite. That was also an act of cowardice. Comicsgate is open to all religions, all people, all politics. Only one group is haram, SJWs. because Comicsgate was formed to escape SJWs. If you allow them, they will destroy it like the rats they are. They already control the mainstream. They don't get to control Comicsgate also. They invade a space, seize control, change it so it's unrecognizable, then kick the founders out. They have Miss Marvel, Captain America, and all the rest, and sales are not as good as they could be. I don't see any redemption for the mainstream. A few days ago, I made an off-the-cuff comment about a new imprint, and I said, oh, it'll probably be woke. Someone, I won't mention her name, said I was crazy. I thought about it, and I'm going to stick to my off-the-cuff comment. Not because the writer is woke, but because the environment is so toxic. Let me give you an example. There's a page of Cash Grab where a mugger robs a big-titted lady's purse, or handbag, depending on your part of the country. The mugger is blonde. Is that insane? Of course it is. It's almost mathematically impossible. Cecil knows that. Donald DeLay knows that. So why do it? Because they have no choice. If it was any other group, Indiegogo would get very nervous and either shadow ban it or refuse to carry it outright. Dynamite would never have even attempted to do business with Cecil. Think about how that controls the narrative. You can't do business in comics in any form if you didn't use a blonde guy as the criminal. That's how far the country has shifted into Marxism. Mike Miller, love him or hate him, has balls as big as church bells for drawing Lonestar. Doug Tennapel also for sticking to his guns. Sorry for the visual. Okay, now I need to fill out the 3 minutes and 17 seconds remaining so I can stay on the algorithm. But this is a good answer. He says, Cal Jameson. Never apologize to the outrage mob. The damage is done. They'll never forgive you, and now you look weak to all the people who have been defending you. Boom. Here's the thing about SJWs. They have a vague fear of they have a fear of people further to the left of them, and people who are higher on the oppression ladder than they are, because they know how the power calculus works. Feigned outrage, oppression points, and further into communism, socialism is more power than further to the right of that. So SJWs don't often understand how the SJW game works, because in their mind they kind of think, oh, we're all SJWs, we're all going to go with the consensus. But the thing is, SJWs do get singled out and destroyed. And normies, or people who aren't SJWs but they see how SJWs operate, we know how SJWs operate. For years, I mean, this stuff has only been getting worse year after year, and people keep on saying, don't apologize to SJWs, don't back down. The best way to take the oxygen off the fire is just mute, block if you have to, take a break from social media, but don't keep poking it. It's what is it called? Intermittent. It's like when you do that psychological experiment with chickens and awards. You should always know what you're talking about before you bring up a topic. All right, fuck it. Something about intermittent response. It's they know they've cracked a wedge in your armor, and SJWs don't know that, but we do. Not only that, they'll demand that he step down after this. You're already seeing the responses down page in here. They're still going after Nick for working with Comicsgate. He's about to learn a very hard lesson. And actually, now that I think about it, it's not... Is it too late to turn this around? I think he made a mistake in kicking Cecil. He didn't realize... He thought Cecil... Oh, who's this guy? Cecil. He's some guy on Comicsgate. He's got like 12,000 subs. He's a nobody. People like EVS, but they love Zach and Cecil. There's a big difference. And I like EVS too, even though I just got done criticizing him. I'm not on team I hate anyone. Because I believe, rational people can fairly criticize each other and then just move on to being normal. Okay, so could he turn this around if he said, you know what? I panicked. The mob got to me. I'm going to let the customer decide. And that's going to be our policy from going forward. If it sells, we'll put it on the cover. or we'll work with you if it sells. We're not going to judge people according to an outrage mob. We believe in due process, and that's going to hurt him also. But the thing is, he's already just effed himself in the A so hard here. He has made people. He and Dynamite is dead to a lot of people, like Aubrey Sitterson, Mark Wade. There are people who look at those names and they'll just never work with them again. Even though they do legitimately have some talent, but you after you heard what Mark Wade did and Aubrey Sitterson said, there's no way you can work with them in good conscience because they're evil, reprehensible people. Not for being stupid, but for not saying, you know what? I had a couple glasses of wine. I misspoke. I'm sorry about that, guys. I was just being stupid. So yeah, I think they could turn things around. They're going to take a hit, but I guess the guy Nick thinks he's going to everything's going to go back to normal. No. Now they know you're already their enemy. You just screwed yourself so hard. They know that they have a wedge on you. They will always control you now. You could turn this around right now. I mean, like in the next 12 hours, if you thought about it, and I even know how cheesy this sounds. Someone else was, actually, EVS was saying in a live stream earlier, said a tough decision, he prayed on it, which sounds kind of archaic, but honestly, it's like prayer or meditation, whatever you're into. Sometimes that's a good way to make a decision. Try to figure out, like, well, what are my principles here? I have to do business, but are there principles that I'm abiding by? Yeah, free expression, the open marketplace, let people... Like, Cecil's not a monster. Comicsgate isn't monsters. You wouldn't judge any other group by the standard you hold Comicsgate to. And I asked somebody in the Twitter comments, would you hold all Muslims to the standard of a few Islamic terrorists? I never got a response because there's no answer to that. How do they answer that? They just deflect that argument. And you say, no, you don't hold all Muslims responsible. You don't hold anyone responsible for acts they didn't commit. Are there a few... spicy people in CG? Yeah, it's a group of 100,000, loosely 100,000 people. Yeah, there's going to be murderers and rapists in any group. There are going to be terrorists in any group. That's a lot of hot words for a YouTube video. You don't to say the whole well is poisoned because of one person. Anyway, enough of this. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. I'll see you all next episode.